As the leader of the Booner pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the fuck up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff Booner and Lucas. We got the ball knower here. Look at this guy. I mean, I don't think he's. I've heard rumors that he goes to bed in the ball knower hat. That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard.
I did not do that.
I heard he had it on while watching the Kentucky Derby. That's just what I heard.
That I can't confirm nor deny that. I may have had it on during the Kentucky Derby, but it is the rightful hat for the rightful person. For the next 12 months, I do have the crown. I'm still waiting. I'm hoping the boys win. Maybe we ordered it already, but my crown and my those things that the kings
Not a
wear.
cape. Robe?
A robe, some type of robe. Yeah, I would like to
I know
have.
what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm picturing it. Don't worry, I'm picturing it. You tried selling me on the Kentucky Derby this weekend.
Yeah, no, it was good. Did you guys not watch it?
I did not.
Klotz, you're all about last week, all horse racing and stuff, and the fact that you watched all that horse racing stuff.
I was going through it. I was so sick. I think I got food poisoning or something, Boone.
Don't say the C word.
So sick. I had to take a bath. I hate taking
What'd
baths.
What'd you eat? Do you remember
I had
like taco meat, chicken?
No, I had a bratwurst and steak before I went to bed. Pops cooked out on the grill. Everybody ate it though. I was only.
I don't want to throw this out to Pops. Maybe Pops undercooked the brat.
Maybe he had one too. He was fine though.
Oh, then now.
Yeah, but Pops is built different. I mean, these guys.
Yeah, he'll get right through it.
Yeah, he fought right through it, dude.
I lost 10 pounds in 2 days, boys.
I was texting Klotz today. We were texting back and forth. We were having some discussions about social today, going back and forth, and Klotz just didn't respond. And I texted him and said, "Hey, we can't get into the weeds here talking some ball, and then you don't respond." And he texted me after, goes, "My bad, I had a bubble bath." And I was like, "I'm not kidding."
I was so dehydrated, my body was just cramping, and I was like, "I just need to."
Yeah,
I don't know what it is about
me
being
that
sick, dude.
You're
like
lucky.
Just being like in the shower and a bath, it takes everything away for like 15 minutes, and then you get back out and it's hell again. But for 15 minutes,
I don't remember the last time I had a bath. Don't remember. Not saying they're bad. If you have a bath, that's fine. I just haven't had one since maybe.
Just the fact that did Lucas type
elementary
bubble
school
bath? Did he say?
No, it was bubble bath.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of my game.
I was a little thrown off, but
lucky you didn't text me, Klotzy. You knew not to text me that.
You wouldn't have said anything.
Oh, I would have cooked you. I would have cooked you.
I was shocked. I was shocked.
I will say this. And Klotzy, I'd like to know your thoughts on this, the Kentucky Derby. This is my thoughts on it, because Booner was really selling me the Kentucky Derby this weekend. And the more I've been thinking about it, I was going to bring this up on the show tonight. I want to see where the chat was at with it. In my opinion, the Kentucky Derby is an event that if you go to in person, I'm sure it's an awesome event.
Like a party if you go to it.
And I'm sure it's I think it's also cool if you're out at like a restaurant and it's just kind of on. Like the fact that Boone was like, I'm watching it at home. I
was by myself basically. I had my cousin and that was it.
Are there people out there that on Saturday was like, you know what? I'm going to chill at home and watch the Kentucky Derby? Or is that more of like, hey, we're out, we're getting food. Oh, it's on. You want to take a peek at it? Is it one of the – I think it's more of that. I think it's more
let's
a restaurant.
Take a step back. Yeah.
Taking a peek at it. Like, oh, yeah, it's a Kentucky Derby.
For casuals as you, Jeff, maybe it's that. One day a year, one of the biggest races, not even 1 day, 2 days, the Kentucky Oaks the day before. It's same track.
Don't take us down the Kentucky Oaks.
Churchill Downs. Yep. Kentucky Oats is the Friday and the Derby is Saturday.
Oatmeal brand.
The Kentucky Oaks. Come on now. Let's have some respect for the Oaks. There's a bunch of races as well. It's an all-day thing, and you get a bet on a bunch of races. And then Saturday, the Kentucky Derby isn't just it's one race. Yes, Kentucky Derby, the name of that one race. There are races throughout the whole day. So you're sitting there watching horse races all day. You can put some money on some guys. I text you guys. I was sending bets, exactas, trifectas. I was sending them in the chat, and I hit like 3 straight. And the only person that seemed, and I don't think you guys understand how hard it is to hit bets in horse racing. Sometimes there's 12 horses, 10 horses. There's 20 horses in the Derby. To get an exacta, it's basically you have to get 1 and 2 correct.
What?
An exacta. It's you have to get you put, let's say I had an exacta on number 3 and 4. They have to finish first and second. Or if I do a trifecta and I pick 3 horses, they have to finish all top 3. And you could do a box, which is any order. But like, it's tough. It's fun. And if you actually start to learn and kind of get into it a little bit, it's a good time. The Derby was fun. I ended up texting Caleb, and it was kind of funny because there's 20 horses in the race and they're 30-1, 17-1. I text Caleb after. I said, I got a problem. He goes, what? I said, I got 7 horses in this race right now. I didn't know who to pick. I had I think it was Medea, or not Medea, Beza. I had Beza.
Medea.
My bad. I had Beza. But then I ended up with like 7 horses, and luckily one of them was Sovereignty, and I had Sovereignty. And I made probably 80% of my money back for the 2 days of the horse races, which was nice. I didn't have a lot on there, but it's just it's couple bucks.
I think Gentry.
Go ahead.
I think Gentry, he could be a jockey. I was looking at some of these jockeys.
He's too big too. You have to be like
95
pounds, 100 pounds.
What is he, 5'6"?
Yeah, no, I think you got to be smaller. And I'm not saying Gentry's bigger, but you have to be like 110 pounds, 105 pounds to be
I love you,
jockey.
Gentry. Yeah, no, I saw the jockeys. I'm like, this is,
It's one of the best days of the year, the Kentucky Derby is, in my opinion. I think, in my opinion, hold on. In my opinion, it's like Super Bowl, maybe like football opener weekend, March Madness, the Kentucky Derby, the Daytona 500, the Masters. Those are the events that I look forward to.
NBA Finals.
NBA Finals is there, but like, yeah, it's
like
it's
World
there.
Series.
First round of the NFL draft.
I just think there are, like, in sports, there are like the Masters, the Super Bowl. There's UFC every weekend.
And
the
I would
Derby
watch UFC. I would watch a good, not great UFC card.
I'm telling you, Klotzy, you watched the show.
And
the Kentucky Derby,
exactly.
The Kentucky Derby. This is disrespectful to
Aaron
sport.
Rodgers was there. Dude,
everyone was there. It's like one of the biggest events of the year every year. I think you guys are understating what the Kentucky Derby is.
Ohio State Michigan game.
It's up there with them. I'm telling you, dude. The Kentucky Derby is one of the biggest events of the year. Not just for me. I'm just saying in sports in general. It's one of the bigger events in all of sports.
We should create during the offseason, we should create like a top 10 power ranking of the biggest events.
John Hughes right here. It has 22 million views. There's not 22 million views probably in the NBA Finals. I'll tell you that.
22 million.
That's fine.
Viewers?
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, it's like one of the biggest events of in the world in the year. It's the Kentucky Derby is
much rather spend my time doing other things.
That's you though. That's fine. But I'm just saying, if you're looking at it in the whole world or in America, Americans look at the Kentucky Derby as one of the biggest events of the year, sporting events of the year. That's just a fact. That's not me stating, like, that's a fact. Well, it's a big event.
We went to another sporting event yesterday. We went to the Michigan Panthers game, and we got to watch. Not only did the Panthers take care of business, whoop the defenders. I mean, it was like 38-14, 37-14. And you saw the quarterback the starting quarterback for the Panthers, Bryce Perkins.
Hey.
Boone was watching this guy, and we've gotten to see Bryce Perkins, and he's played in the NFL. He played with the Rams for a season, and he's been with the UFL. With the Panthers.
Can I give my comp out for him?
Well, go ahead, because you loved it. You loved it. Go ahead.
He's the UFL Josh Allen.
UFL Josh Allen, Boone.
I don't know how else to say
he
plays just like Josh Allen.
With his legs, that dude makes plays. He does.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he also said something else, because I have this here. I'll show you guys. For those if you didn't watch the game, you should. I mean, it's good. It was on Sunday, and the Panthers are actually pretty good. So you get to watch him win some games. But here's what he did on Sunday. Bryce Perkins. He had 188 passing yards, 2 passing TDs, 90 rushing yards, 1 rushing TD, and a blowout win. And Booner looks over at me, We're up at the media section. We're watching. He looks over at me. He goes, "Bring this guy in, QB2 for the Lions."
I'd say I'm the
and then
guess the first one to say it.
And then guess what? The next day, Lions beat reporters. I think it was Mike Payton wrote an article. Lions should bring him in.
I'd like to say I was the first one on the scenes.
I was like, dude, because I think Mike Payton phrased it like the next UFL player the Lions should look into, besides the next Jake Bates. You know what I mean? Could be Bryce Perkins. And was I offended initially? Slightly offended, but then I thought about it, and it's not even against Bryce because I want to get him on the show. Yeah, his story is really interesting. I mean, he's a great guy. I mean, after he stayed after to sign autographs and hang with the fans. I'm curious if he does get an opportunity because it feels like, are there 32 backups that are probably better than him? I don't know. I don't know. I
don't even think 32 backups. Like, think about the emergency quarterbacks in the NFL.
Or 64,
you know what I mean?
64 quarterbacks. Better.
You have all of those emergency quarterbacks. It's like, hey, if you just watched yesterday's game and you were telling me like one of the problems maybe like his arm wasn't fully there, but yesterday like you could start seeing it a little bit. Some of the plays he was making. I mean, he was throwing the ball across his body, like putting it on the dot. It was like, all right, wait a second. This guy's starting to sling it a little bit, and then he's out there, he's running around. There was one play, I think Jeff he went to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden Bryce Perkins, he was about to get sacked, grabs the player, throws the player. This is a defensive lineman, throws him off him. One arm just throws him off of him. Spin move, running in the pocket, crossbody throw, and then his player just drops the ball, and they have an illegal guy downfield as well. So it was just an unbelievable play. The guy could play. It's like there's no way NFL teams looking at like, hey, we need to bring a guy in for camp. Like the Lions, they just get rid of who was it? They got rid of your guy. Jake Fromm, you let him go. Now you have an opening, right? You go into camp with 4 quarterbacks. That's typically an NFL team goes into training camp with 4 quarterbacks. You to kind of get that competition in there, especially for the 2, 3, 4. So you can know like, hey, we want to put some pressure on Hendon Hooker. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying this is a good thing. Like you want to put pressure on those guys to get them to the best of their abilities. And I look at that with Hendon and, why am I drawing a blank on the guy we just signed? The Lions just signed Kyle Allen, and you get let's say a Bryce Perkins in there just to compete, right? Like give him a shot to compete. He's going to compete. A guy from the UFL. He's playing very well right now for the Michigan Panthers, and obviously you can let him finish his season out just like Jake Bates did last year. See what he can do in the playoffs in the UFL, and then he's a Detroit guy, right? He's in Detroit playing for the Michigan Panthers. And just bring him in the building. See what happens, right? You need a 4th quarterback. Why not just take a little shot at that and see what happens? I don't think it's a bad thought process at all, to be honest.
No, I don't think so. He played for some games for the Rams. Full transparency, didn't look great, but who knows? You go to the UFL, you develop a little more. And these guys, I think it was actually ETN that put it, or was it? Actually, no, it wasn't ETN. Someone put it in the chat. Oh, I forgot who it was, but whoever put it was right. Basically, whoever said it in the chat, these UFL players, like you're getting as close to the NFL as you possibly can. I mean, just from players that have played in the NFL, they weren't quite good enough to make it for whatever reason, but it is that next, it's similar, it's just lesser talent. So, the guys.
there are guys that get signed out of the UFL all the time.
Yeah.
Devontae Turpin.
If you're telling me Tim Boyle, Nate Sudfeld, Adrian Martinez, David Blau, Kyle Allen, Jake Fromm, and Hendon Hooker, like I feel like all of those guys are really not notable backups. The only notable backup they have is Teddy Bridgewater. They're not probably bringing him back anytime soon, so give him a look. Hurts nothing.
He looked. I'll tell you what, he looked good Sunday, and that wasn't me just being like, oh, like no, I was like. We've been to how many Michigan Panthers games this year and covered them, and there wasn't a game where I was just like Bryce Perkins. But yesterday it was like, wait a second. And if I'm being fully transparent, yesterday was the first game that he was the full-time starting quarterback. They were going double quarterbacks all year long, and then they finally are like, all right, we're going to name one quarterback. Bryce Perkins gets his chance to be the full-time guy, and he looks like, again, I'll say it, he looks like the UFL Josh Allen.
Yeah, but it's a fair comp. Well, guys, did you see the story? I think this came out over the weekend, but the Eagles have their own kind of inside the den, I guess. Yeah. And It was caught on the I forgot exactly what it's called. It's called 96 Hours Inside the Eagles Draft Room, where they do basically inside footage in the Eagles draft room, and they capture Howie Roseman like just in GM mode. I wish the Lions could do something like this, where they.
I think they will, won't they? Don't they usually release it?
I don't know if it's like this level where they were basically just sitting with Howie the entire time. He's just cooking. They might do something. The Lions might put out something like that, but it was it was in the footage that in the first round on Thursday, first round of the NFL draft, that Howie Roseman was trying to trade up to get Jahad Campbell because he was falling. Now looking back, he ended up going to the Eagles anyway. But Howie Roseman called the Lions and tried to make a trade to trade up, and the Lions trade back. And Pride of Detroit put out an article about it. And it said Howie Roseman, he called Brad and said, any interest in moving back? You can't hear Brad, but they knew it was the Lions. It said after receiving Holmes' answer, which was probably like, nah. Roseman said in the phone, that's fair. I appreciate the honesty. After hanging up, he turned into the war room and said, Detroit, I just spoke to. They said no. And then obviously Holmes commented on that in the first, after the first round, he did the press conference. He said, got a few calls when I got close to our pick. Just didn't feel great. Just kind of how it was thinning out for us specifically. That's the fascination of the NFL, right? It's 31 other boards. You have no idea. You do all the research in advance and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, you truly don't know. That's what makes it fun. You just kind of got to try and make the most responsible decision you can. We thought about it. There was one enticing one, but we just felt like with the depth of that group right now and how the board was falling, it felt like it was responsible, the most responsible to stay put. So my thing when he says they had an enticing offer, I thought might have been the Eagles that were trying to trade up. Now looking back, both teams got what they wanted, but this tells me, and it further confirms for all the people, we were live on the first day, the first night. And, at the time, a lot of the people that were viewing were just frustrated with the pick and didn't really understand the pick for Tyreek Williams. And, we were excited. We obviously put out a reaction. We were ecstatic. And people kind of gave us shit for being excited about it because we wanted an edge in the first round. But the more we explained it, like we have a video posted a week prior to that when we talked about Tyreek, and we were all on board with it. All of us were on board with it. The pick, we love the player. We saw the vision for having a guy like Tyreek, but I think what this essentially means to me when I read it is Brad didn't want to trade back because the man would have been gone a pick later or 2 picks later. Like he wouldn't even trade back from 28 to 32. You know what I mean? 28 to 32.
Yeah.
So all the people that are so-called draft experts that think Tyreek would have been there in the 40s, no. And this confirms it's a fat no. So and Tyreek even said that in his press conference. So I thought it was interesting. I posted a video today and asked the people, like, do you wish the Lions would have taken that trade? I don't know. Where are you guys? I'm glad they did.
I do think like it confirms, at least in my mind, like it's kind of confirmation that Brad got his guy and he was kind of set on Tyreek. There was no one else. You saw there was the James Pierce. Like I went back actually and watched the full Eagles thing because I wanted to see if there was context to it, just kind of what it was. And it was basically like Howie was trying to trade up since like 21. I think the Chargers were actually 22. I think he was trying to trade up from 22, and he called every team from 22 until 31 until he traded with the Chiefs. He talked to every single GM, and the Lions came up, and that was the one where I was sitting there. I was like, did Brad give it any thought? And it seemed like, and maybe obviously they could have cut some out, but it seemed like Brad was just like, we got our guy. Like, no, we're good. We don't want you to take our guy. We don't know if you're going Tyreek. Obviously, Brad had a thought. He did say, too, I don't know if you guys remember this in the post-draft press conference. He was like, we were getting a little nervous after day one. He was like, there was nerves. Like, we wanted our guy, and we didn't know if we were going to get him when there was all the runs on offensive linemen. That we still thought it was going to switch to defensive tackles, and you could tell he was a little nervous. So I think the bottom line of it is they got their guy, and I think that's the biggest thing with this whole discussion in the first round, because there are guys like Donovan Izaraku who was available that guys wanted. James Pierce went a little bit before. I'm trying to think of guy Mike Green, who they met with Mike Green, and a lot of Lions fans were pushing for Mike Green in the first round. He's sitting there and they're like, why didn't they go him? I think it should give you a little bit of a step back and be like, all right, Brad wanted Tyreek from the jump. Like, that was his guy no matter what. I bet you if Brad felt like he had to trade up a couple picks for him, that man would have done it. Right. Yeah. And then I think this Eagles trade kind of confirms that he was willing to be like, okay, because he could have easily taken a free pick and moved back to 32 if he thought Tyreek was going to be there. Easily could have done that. Like when Howie Roseman talked about the Chiefs trade, he was like, we just gave him a free pick essentially, and he was like, whatever, we want our guy, because he didn't want anyone else to jump into that spot. And Brad could have easily just been like, give us 162 or whatever it was that the Chiefs ended up getting. But he took a step back, sat down and said, give us our guy. Yeah. We got our guy in Detroit. Give me Tyreek Williams, baby. And they got him.
Yeah, and you get Tyreek, you get your guy, but also you're not allowing Howie Roseman to get a better package as far as like you get a more premium pick, because I think of just the year prior, like an exact same situation. You think of the Super Bowl champions trying to move back up to the 28th overall pick. That's what happened with the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs. And the Buffalo Bills traded back with the Chiefs. The Chiefs move up to 28. They take Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy has 4 catches, 61 yards, and a crucial touchdown against the Buffalo Bills in the playoff game. So why would you give Howie Roseman the possibility? Like, you never know. Like, maybe Howie really liked Tyreek. They just lost Milton Williams. There's a chance that, like you guys said it enough, like, Tyreek wasn't falling far because he does have that pass rushing upside. He wasn't kind of just like a purely – now, he is really good against the run, but he has that upside. And Howie Roseman drafts those type of defensive linemen all the time where you can develop. Why give him the chance to get your guy? Because if they wanted Tyreek the whole time, especially like they probably knew the noise that Buffalo wanted Tyreek as well. But more importantly, don't let the Eagles get more ammunition. They already were going to get a great player. There was 3 players that were sitting there like, how are they still sitting there with Izaraku, Jahad Campbell, and Mike Green? And they would have been still picking where they wanted to. They got to trade regardless, but you don't trade with the Eagles.
If you're locked in on a guy, Klotz,
he's the guy to take advantage of those teams within the conference and the division. Don't let Howie do that to Brad.
If you're locked in on a guy, like, you just don't move off, especially if you're like, if there's any question, especially in the first round, that level, that talent level, you're sitting there going like, if we move off and the Eagles do take them, or the Bills, like contending teams, or the Commanders step in and take them, you're sitting there and you're looking back going, what a dumb decision that was. And you knew that was a guy. And then 4 years down the line, you look at the draft class and you're like, oh, this is an all-pro defensive tackle that we traded back and passed on. In hindsight, you're looking back going, no, this is tough, right?
Did you guys hear Eric DaCosta?
That was interesting. I think
this.
Eric DaCosta was right too. That's such a good. He had a good point.
So Eric DaCosta, for those who don't know, the GM of the Ravens, he's one of the best GMs in the
top
game.
7.
He's very good, and they always draft well. But the thing that the Ravens you don't hear a lot about the Ravens doing is they don't trade up a lot. I think they traded up for Lamar Jackson, but they don't do it a lot. And he went on a podcast, which I would love if Brad did this too, because like Eric was just chopping it up with these guys, and he got into kind of how he thinks when it comes to the NFL draft. So let me play this clip, and then it'll give you more context, because it kind of relates to what we're talking about. But listen to Eric here when he talks about the NFL draft, how they do it. Let me turn this up for 1 second.
By Richard Thaler, who's a economist, and Cade Massey, who's a professor at Penn now. And the idea of it basically is that teams simply don't do any better drafting than anyone else. You're all going to be about the same, right? So the idea that you're going to trade up, and basically that the draft is inherently sort of a luck-driven process. Now, I don't believe that, but there is an element of luck involved. So if you think about that, and if you accept that premise, then you're trading up for a player that you think is better than anyone else, right? And you think that team's going to draft him,
right?
But most of the time, they're not going to draft that player. And so what we've seen over the years is that player is probably going to fall to you. Could he be selected? Yes, but there's no guarantees that player is going to be better than the player that you end up getting.
Yeah.
So they call it the loser's curse, because the team at the top, it's like, oh, he's got the first pick in the draft. Well, you know what? The player that they select, we've seen this many times. There's no guarantees that player is going to be better than the player that gets selected at 25 or 30 in the first round. And so all things being equal, I know I'm doing a lot of talking about this, but it's a passion of mine. All things being equal, right? The fact that no one really knows who's going to be better than anyone else, the only rational approach is to get more at-bats,
right?
Is to pick more. And so what we've seen over the last 5 years, but especially this year, everyone seems to be drafting players, the same players. So it's like going to a restaurant with 20 of your best friends, and there's 20 things on the menu, but all 20 of you are ordering one of the same 3 entrees, right? You're all getting the steak and you're all getting the pasta. Maybe a few guys are getting the crab cakes, but nobody's going after the vegetarian option, right? And nobody's getting the lamb. Everybody's eating the same things. That's kind of what the draft has become in some ways. And I don't know if that's because of the incredible media coverage, all the so-called draft experts, right? All the people that are putting up mock drafts and consensus boards and things like that. But for me, the idea of having more picks means I have the chance of getting more players.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honestly, if you think about it, it kind of relates to what Brad Holmes has done because, I mean, he's traded up for players, obviously, that, you know, he feels is better than others. But even when you look at the Aiden Hutchinson draft, I mean, Trayvon Walker went 1, Aiden Hutchinson went 2. You know, it just kind of falls sometimes. Like TJ Watt goes 28th overall, 29th. He's the best player in that draft. So what he's basically saying is, like, for the Lions, for example, like, there's no guarantee that, you know, even if we disagree that Isaac Tesla will be better than, let's say, a leak, you know, for example, out of Stanford. But, like, that's the way that he approaches the draft. And it's interesting to hear him say that because that is how the NFL draft. I think he even mentioned there's context. Like, if you like a player, you trade up for him. And the Lions have done that, and it's worked out very well. They've done it a bunch of times with Brad Holmes. I mean, they traded up for Jameson Williams, and it worked out pretty well for him. But when you think of it like that, there isn't really a guarantee. And that kind of goes to, like, the Eagles, for example. They wanted to trade up for Jahad Campbell, but they ended up saying put and taking him anyway. So
yeah,
it's interesting to hear a perspective from a guy like Eric DeCosta.
I think the biggest thing, at least for me, the takeaway is like the trade backs, because Eric DeCosta, obviously one of the best in the game, is talking about, like, hey, getting more opportunities, you know, you have the better chance of getting more guys that are at that level.
Right.
I think the most interesting thing, it was Jeremy, I think, who we have on the show, Reisman. He tweeted out, he actually quote tweeted this, and then someone replied to him, and then he quote tweeted that, and he was like, last 2 years, Brad Holmes, 7 trades, 0 trade backs, right? And that's like in the draft, and that's the thought process of it. It's like, hey, going up, and that's where, like, every single GM has a different, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, philosophy. Just a different style and philosophy. It's just like, it's like a football player, like a quarterback or like a point guard. It's like, hey, everyone has their own way they play the game, right? Every GM has their own way. The Eric DeCosta way, it's an interesting thought process. Like, hey, if you don't just keep trading up and trying to, you know, get your guys, and you just keep getting as many picks as you can and trade back and add more, you have a better, and I think that's just like anything, you have a better chance at hitting. But I don't know, it's crazy to think that Eric DeCosta is like, hey, we'll trade back to get as many picks as we can, and Brad Holmes is like, hey, in the last 2 drafts we'll trade up 7 times, or 3 drafts, whatever it is, 7 times.
All different philosophies,
and we'll give up picks. It's interesting
because the Lions are looking for specific types of players. You know, they want, like, they look at the human being, and then they attach that to, like, the type of player he is. You know, and then they look at, obviously, can we just say his ceiling? Kind of
say this too. Like, it's weird too that Eric DeCosta still sticks with that, because I feel like when you get to a certain point in the NFL, like when your team gets to that level, you're no longer at the point to where it's like, hey, we need to bring in 15 guys right out of the draft.
Yeah, I mean,
we need 5 or 6 dudes that, like, hey, we know what they can be, who they are, and what they're about. And we have these specific holes or opportunities because it's such a deep roster, and there's so many dudes on this roster to where it's like, it's kind of shocking because the Ravens are a similar spot.
Yeah.
And maybe, hey, they haven't gotten over the hump. Maybe that's Eric DeCosta's. We talk about GM's downfalls.
That Ozzie Newsome. The last time they traded up was with Ozzie.
We talk about those downfalls of GMs. Maybe that's it for him. He can't get over the fact.
They need to get a wide receiver. They drafted Hollywood Brown, but then they trade him away. Then they have Rashad Bateman. Like, that's
brought in Odell for a year.
Yeah. D-Hop. They got D-Hop this year, Boone.
Yeah, I don't know how that'll go. I'm interested.
They pick good players. It's just refuse to address the wide receiver spot for the quarterback.
Well, the Lions did address something they needed. They addressed edge. All right. They drafted a pretty exciting player, and we're fired up about it. And we thought, you know what? Let's talk to someone that is very, very close with Ahmed. And honestly, he's played a very integral part and kind of introducing him to the game of football. And, you know, I watched his interview with the heavyweights. Shout out to Easy and Spencer. And the dude is just, I mean, he's just a great guy. So we're going to have him on, chop it up, talk some ball with him. You know what I mean? He's smiling over there. Get in here, Cory. Please welcome to the show. And Cory, please, before I introduce how do you say your last name? You got to tell
Besch. I got to get this thing focused, man. What's
all
going
good,
on?
brother. How are you, man? Appreciate you.
There we go. There we go.
Locked in. What up, man? Cory Besch. Yes, sir. That's how you pronounce it. Easy told me to tell you guys what up, though.
Come on now.
Let's go.
I love that. I love
Yes,
it.
sir. Yes,
Easy's
sir.
already getting you introduced, man.
I love the hat too.
Yeah,
Man,
hat.
I had to search all around Boise to find some Detroit Lions gear. They were sold out, man. We have you guys know a Shields? You ever heard of a Shields before?
No.
Never.
It's like a Bass Pro Shop for sporting goods, like all sporting goods, right? So like everything you could think of, from outdoors gear to NFL apparel to normal clothes, everything you could think of, and they were sold out of all the Lions gear. So I'm like, man, I gotta go find something. So got me this draft cap, got my brother one. He's heading out in 2 days to get to you guys in Detroit.
Come
so
on.
It's an exciting time. Hell yeah.
Hey, shout out Idaho, man. Lions.
Yeah,
fan.
man. Hey, they are like a baby Detroit. They support their team. They support their players. It's a great spot to be, man.
I love that. Cory, before we even, because we're interested in just like Ahmed's story and kind of how you, everything about it. But I want to get to know you, Cory.
Yeah.
I want to get to know kind of your story here. How'd you fall in love with the game? I know you're a football coach. Your background is football. Can you kind of give us some insight to kind of how you fell in love with the game and kind of how it started for you?
Yeah, man. I was lucky enough to have a very significant father figure in my life. It was my mom's dad. So my grandpa, he passed away 7 years ago. Randy Besch was his name. I've got him tattooed on my arm, but he was, that mentor, that role model that filled a lot of roles for me in my life. My dad, the one that I share with Ahmed, was in Egypt when I was born. And so being kind of the American side of the family, I didn't really have a great relationship with him. And so like a lot of young athletes, they need that father figure role to be filled by somebody. And my grandpa was the best at that. And so I played every sport growing up and was always an extremely good athlete. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but
go ahead and toot it. Go ahead and toot it, Cory. Come on.
Hey, let the people know.
I'm just saying, I made the most out of my frame and my potential. That's for sure. But it was definitely a different path than Ahmed had, right? Like, so I grew up, I was the kid, I'm a lot older maybe than you would think. But I grew up watching Sports Center reruns every night, right? Falling asleep to those. And so to see my brother, on the Rich Eisen show is kind of surreal. And, but that was me, man, growing up and just loved everything about sports, loved the competitiveness, loved just the fact that you can go out there and prove yourself, and being the smallest guy on the field always, no matter what I did, it was a chip on my shoulder, right? To go out there and prove people wrong that you could do it. And, I played all throughout, childhood, ended up playing in high school, bouncing around a bunch of different high schools, started at Servite, which is like a prep school, rivaled Mater Dei. But I'm going to say this embarrassingly, I was 4'10" my freshman year. Damn. Right. And so I was like way undersized and way behind the 8 ball as far as, development and things like that. And so high school was tough for me, and was used to being the dude. And as soon as everyone else starts growing up and I'm, staying undersized, you don't get as many opportunities from coaches and things. And so I bounced around a bunch of different high schools, ended up at Loera High School, Ahmed's alma mater, and found a home there and played my senior year. Thought my days were over playing football, and ended up getting to work out with a quarterback coach who was my high school coach, Steve Calhoun of Armed and Dangerous Football out of OC, and one of the top quarterback coaches in the nation. Trains Jordan Love. We don't love Jordan Love. Ahmed's going to sack Jordan Love. We'll just put that out there. But Jordan, he trains a bunch of guys, Keenan Allen, and so I grew up with him. And he called me one day. He said, hey, can you come run some routes? At the time, I was a wildland firefighter actually for the U.S. Forest Service, and was in the best shape of my life. Yeah, and he's like, hey, I got Sam Bradford's back up here. I need somebody to run routes. So I went over to the field. I ran some routes. He said, you still got some juice left in it. And so I went to junior college, played for 2 years, ended up getting a chance to go play at Azusa Pacific University, made the most out of that opportunity. And as soon as I was done, went back to Loera High School, my alma mater, to give back to that community and those kids there that needed that same male role model, mentor figure that I had. So I felt that was my purpose. That was kind of my calling. And that's what set me up for the future that I would have. And then ended up going back to Egypt and visiting my family and bringing Ahmed to come to school at Loera as well.
What a story. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's just a part of it, man. That's crazy. Yeah.
Cory, you guys are all grinders, man. Like, that's what I'm getting from this. No wonder.
100%. I think that is in our DNA, right? To prove people wrong. I think that Ahmed, like coming from Egypt and having people there tell him he couldn't do it, that he would be back in 2 weeks, that he couldn't even speak the language. How was he going to be successful? I know he has that as a chip on his shoulder, and he's been proving it every day. He continues to prove it, at every level that he's performed at. And I know that's something he's taken with him to Detroit. It's funny that he's in Detroit because, Amon-Ra has that famous line where he knows every single receiver that went before him and where they played. Ahmed was doing the same thing. Now, he probably doesn't remember all their names and stuff, but he's like, hey, save that big board sheet because I want to look back at that in 2 years and see what those guys are doing compared to where I'm at. And so I got it in the room, and it's going to be motivation at some point in the coming future.
I love that. I want to bring up too, because you mentioned the Rich Eisen show, Cory. And when I went back and watched that, and obviously the story is unbelievable. We hear stories all the time in sports, and that like puts you back a little bit, and you're like, this is amazing. It has to be, your brother's story has to be at the top of the list. Of like, this is an insane story, like just the grind of it all too. The one thing I want to bring this up, because Rich Eisen was like, hey, I saw him at the combine. Our crew here went to the combine. We go every year. And when he was performing at the combine, and I kid you not, we all look at each other. The drill where he is yelling at the Ravens defensive line coach. I think it might have been Lukas on the show here, who we look at each other, and or Jeff, he was just like, he's going to be a dude. And we didn't know if he was going to be a lion. We had no clue. And we went back to our hotel room and did our show. He was one of the first guys we brought up just based off of that. So seeing the full circle there with the Rich Eisen and all that, can you kind of tell the story? Because he broke it down on the Rich Eisen show of his story from Egypt to high school, and you kind of becoming that kind of figure in his life to get into the game of football. Can you kind of break all that down and how that story played out?
Yeah, it's an insane story. And I believe, God willing, that it's going to be a movie or a book or something someday. He's got to just perform this last leg of the journey. But it's crazy because, like I said, I graduated from Azusa Pacific University. At the time, it was an NAIA school, a small Christian university in the outskirts of LA. And so I thought my career was done. I made the most of it. Slot receiver, returner, do it all type of guy. But when I went back to coaching, I was at the school that Ahmed went to. There was not a ton of talent. So the socioeconomic and just experience around there, you get a lot of kids that come in as freshmen. They have never played football before. And so you do a lot of development and fundamentals and teaching kids of character. But sometimes you don't have enough athletes on the field to, give a good look. And so what I ended up doing was, playing scout quarterback for every practice and just going against our defense to give them the best look. And our head coach at the time, his name is Mitch Olson. He had played in Europe before, back in his heyday. And he would always tell me after practice, man, I wish we could get you connected to the guys in Europe because you still could play. And it sounded like a pipe dream, right? That would be amazing to go play football in Europe, like kind of live my own professional dream. But I never thought it was realistic. And then one year, he, probably 5 years after coaching with him, he goes, hey, I got a call from a coach in Austria and they're looking for a quarterback. Now, like I said, I'm 5'7" now. And that's not the ideal size for a quarterback, but because I had that experience with Steve Calhoun and learning how to play receiver, I was always watching the quarterback drills, always trying to pick his brain on, how the position is played. And so I was like, shoot, I can play quarterback in Austria. That's not the highest level of football. And so I got the opportunity with my best friend, Jonathan Rangel, who was the DC at Loera. I was the co-offensive coordinator. We got a chance to go in March of 2018 to Austria, a small town in the Tyrol Valley, right outside of Innsbruck. And we got to play our own little version of a professional football dream. And so we were out there for 3.5 months. And at the end of that, my sister, Gigi, who was in Egypt, I have 2 older sisters and 2 younger brothers. My sister, Gigi, who was in Egypt, said, reached out to me and said, hey, while you're on this side of the world, why don't you come over and visit the family? Unbeknownst to me, Ahmed and some of the struggles that were going on within the family had been weighing on her, and she kind of had this ulterior motive that she did not let me know beforehand, that she wanted to see what I could do to kind of help his situation. So when I got there in early June of 2018, I was staying on her couch, and she's informing me of kind of what's going on and how, the family has always been supportive, but there's just issues going on. Ahmed is struggling in school. He's struggling in his personal life, and he's looking for an opportunity to kind of get out of that situation. And they were mulling over ideas like sending him to a military academy in Georgia called the Riverside Academy. And he was gung ho for it because he just wanted out of what that situation was like. And so, I felt a call in my heart that my purpose of being a male mentor and father figure and football coach would not be wasted on my own brother. And so I kind of, listened to that and offered my services, not knowing what that would be like. And within, a week of kind of talking it over in the 10 days that I was there in Egypt, they sent me back home to find a place for us to live. And Ahmed was following me a month later in August of 2018 to play football for me and go to school at Loera High School in Anaheim. And so it was a crazy transition. That's how he got to America and got involved in football and started his own football journey.
Wow. That's
just the beginning. It goes more, but I'll break it up. You can ask me whatever you want about that for sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, seeing him get drafted, it was probably surreal, but just kind of staying on the part where you're kind of bringing him back over from Egypt as a big brother, because I have a brother who's like 15 years older than me. So I know what it's like when it's like, you have that protective, like, hey, that's my little brother. What's the proudest moment outside of him probably being drafted that you've seen in the transition from him coming over to Egypt to the United States?
Yeah. There are countless proud moments, right? Like as a big brother, I'm 14 years older than Ahmed. So I'm 37. He's going to be 23 this year. And so there is a big gap, and it's a strange relationship because we didn't grow up together. We grew up on the other side of the planet and without a lot of communication. So with a language barrier in between us and a lack of trust and a lack of, of history together, there was, a feeling out process between us. And he had to, assure himself that I was in it for the right reasons, right? That I truly did love him, that I truly did support him, and that I wanted to do whatever I could to help him be successful. And so you might think, the football things are the most proud that I would be of him, but to be honest, it's who he is as a man and what his heart is, that is what I am the most proud about. He, what you saw at the combine and him and his, expressive nature, yelling at that coach, that is who he is, whether he's at home, whether he's on the field, whether he's wherever he's at in the classroom. He is a intense, charismatic, loving, passionate dude. And just the way he treats people, graduating high school would have been an amazing accomplishment from where he was at. Going to college and just making a team wouldn't have been an amazing accomplishment. Becoming, a star player at Boise State, amazing accomplishment. Graduating college, which he just finished his last class, amazing accomplishment. Making it to the NFL, amazing accomplishment. But there's like the culmination of all those things really just come down to who he is as a person. And the reason he is so successful is because of that character. And so I had been coaching for 8 years before he got here. And, you teach and you coach all the players, with these lessons from life. Football is the best sport to teach life lessons. So I'm constantly harping on these players, and some of them, take it to heart, and some of them maybe don't make those right decisions. And so to have my brother be the one that took everything that I said and everything that Coach Olson said and everything that the leaders around him said, and he took it to heart and he put it into action, that was probably the most proud that I could be, because it's not a single moment. It's everything that he does. I wear these wristbands on my wrist still to this day. And these are from back when he was in high school, and it says all the time, not some of the time. And that was our motto at Loera. You do the right thing. You treat people right all the time, not some of the time. And that is truly what I'm most proud about him for.
Well, it's Cory. That's crazy too. I mean, you mentioned already, like the book, the movie, the Rich Eisen clip of him saying, like, you tried him out at different positions, and I got a kick out of it because it's so genuine. He's just like, well, I tried wide receiver, I'm sure because of your familiarity with the position, and then he's like, well, I couldn't really catch anything, and then I'm playing linebacker, so much is happening at once, and then you just say, hey man, you line up, you get the dude with the ball, and then at first he's pulling face masks, and then eventually just starts clicking. And he dives into the story about how he had to he was watching a YouTube video, how to pass rush on his way to like a camp that he dominated at.
Yeah.
Like, when did you, like, watching him grow? I'm sure you've seen the early moments to kind of now who he is as a player, but during those early moments, when did it start? You start noticing like, oh, this dude, not only is he good, like this dude can be great. When did it start clicking for you along that kind of early process?
Yeah, it wasn't right away, right? Because like I said, Loera High School, not a football powerhouse. It's actually the lowest division in California, high school football. And so didn't have a lot of talent to base it off of. And so you get him there, you see his size, you see his potential, you see what he could do on the defensive line, but the competition he's going against isn't the best. His teammates aren't necessarily able to hang with him in practice. So you're really not quite sure how it's going to translate to the next level. And this is a disadvantage and an advantage looking back on it. But going into, he plays his sophomore year, like you said, we tried him at receiver, couldn't catch a ball. Tried him at line, can't do it. Put him at the D line, he's just manhandling people. Once he learns what he can and can't do, right? Then okay, he's a dominant force on the defense. We're going to start to build the defense around him. And my best friend, is a defensive mind, and so he's like, this is the cornerstone of the defense. We're gonna make him the force. And so he had special calls, special blitzes. We called Pharaoh. He could run wherever he wanted on the defense and just wreak havoc, right? And so junior year, he just blows up. And first team all league, first team all conference. We make a run in CIF playoffs. He ends up, getting a pick six for a touchdown. And I'm screaming so everything is kind of happening. You're like, dude, this dude's the real deal. But then senior year, right when we're thinking, okay, now's when he's going to start the recruiting process. We're going to send him out to camps. COVID hits. And we're thinking, what's going to happen now? And this is where it's like, it's a blessing. Maybe with everything else that's going on, you would hate to say COVID's a blessing, but for his football journey, I can't remember the last time a college recruiter came to Loera High School. But because of COVID, we were forced to kind of go out and find alternative ways to get his name out there. And so it was one weekend in a city about 35 minutes away at a facility called Winter Circle. And it's in Corona. And it's kind of in the hub of all the Southern California schools. And this scouting event was being put on, and all the studs from the surrounding schools, Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, Corona Centennial, all the Division I high schools in the area had all their guys come into this to try and get some film out, because no visits are happening. No in-person recruiting is happening. And all the college coaches are looking for high school players, and all the high school players are looking to get their name out to college coaches. So I took him to that event, and we walk in. At the time, he's 6'2.5", 260, right? Just a straight man child. And he passes the eye test immediately. You could tell as you're walking in that everyone's like, who is this dude? And so then I tell his name, and they're like, what is his name? Ahmed Hassanein. Like, where's that from, right? And then I tell them the high school, they're like, Loera, where's that? And so it's like this mystery, which was kind of not planned, but strategically, sold to them, right? Like I enjoyed telling the story and hearing and seeing their ears perk up. And so the scout who was there at the time, kind of representing all the colleges around, and I think it's National Preps. I can't remember exactly the name of the company that he was sent from, but he's sitting in the background, and his ears perk up when I say that nobody knows who he is. And he says, literally, well, that'll change after today. And so I knew he had the attention of a guy who knows what a real D1 football player looks like. And so he starts, measuring him up against door frames, and he's like, hey, take a picture of him next to me, because he's the measuring stick, right? Oh, I almost freaking just sent my computer on
the intensity, Cory.
Yeah, bro, I'm telling you. So he's like, dude, this is amazing. Like, this is my, diamond in the rough, right? And so he starts, getting all the footage. I'm out there like a proud dad taking, clips of every single rep that my brother starts taking, because he's going up against 3 stars, 4 stars, maybe even 5-star prospects. At the time, the number 1 defensive end in the country, or the number 1 recruit in the country, was Corey Foreman out of Corona Centennial. He ended up going to USC. And so my brother's like, I want to compete next to that guy and show that I'm as good as him. Within one day, he's got 3 stars on his name, right? And within, a week, he's getting calls from colleges, and they started at the D2 level. Azusa Pacific, hey Cory, we want your brother here. I'm like, a little too small, brother. I'm sorry. Maybe the grinder, but this is the next level. Trust me. And then it was the University of Northern Colorado, a FCS school, and then it was Duke and Kansas, and now we're cooking with fire, right? And I'm thinking, okay, he's really has potential to play at that level. But I just thought that for him, strategically, a school in the Mountain West, or a school like, at the time it was Fresno State, that I thought might be the one that he would end up attending, because they were recruiting him, but they were playing it slow. Was thinking that would be a good fit for him. A school where he could compete, he could develop. We could kind of measure him and see where he's at compared to the rest of the, the nation. And then also, if he's got that NFL caliber potential, those schools have been known to put players in the league. And so we're thinking Fresno State, but they're drawing it out. And then one day, this is where it really gets crazy. One day he gets a message on Twitter at the time, and it's from Spencer Danielson, at the time the defensive line coach at Boise State. And he says, love what you're doing, big man. We're watching you. Keep up the hard work. And so my brother comes to me, hey, I got a message from a Boise State coach named Spencer Danielson. I said, Spencer Danielson, that's my college teammate, brother. Like, tell him that you're actually my brother. And so Spencer didn't believe him, because of course I'm 5'7", this dude's 6'3", and like a man child, right? And so he hits me up immediately. Spencer, Cory, is this dude really this big? Tell me about him. And we have a good relationship from playing in college. That Christian University really develops, bonds between the players. And we have a saying, one blood, right? Which is similar to one pride, right? Once you're together, you can't separate it. And so we had this trust, and he made me swear that he was actually 6'2.5", that he was actually this big, and then he was actually this raw and this type of talent. And I did everything in my power to convince him. And thank goodness he trusted me, because within a week after finding him on Twitter, he was ready to offer him a scholarship. And then we took a virtual visit on a Zoom call, and my brother, before even telling me, commits on the spot to Boise State. I had kind of been telling him that would be the right spot. Once I knew it wasn't going to be Fresno, there's no better, jewel of the Mountain West than Boise State, and developmental program that could get him to the league. And so that's how he got there. That's when I knew, man, okay, we really have a guy who can potentially make it. And yeah, when his coaches at Boise State told me after his first, game, getting live reps, he literally came up to me and told me, your brother's going to get paid to play this game. And he didn't owe me that comment. But he could see it from his true freshman game at D tackle. And so that's when I really knew, this dude, if he stays on the trajectory that he's on right now, man, the sky's the limit.
Cory, just real quick, can you talk about the Boise State journey? Because looking at it itself too, I think it was sophomore year. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was like two or three sacks sophomore year, and then jumps to 12.5, and then 9.5. And I think I actually heard you when you talked to Easy and Spencer mention that different DC from year 3 to 4, different scheme, and still had 9.5 sacks. Obviously went down, but can you just talk about what it was like kind of going through that process there at Boise from, I would just say, from year 2, 3 to all the way to 4 before the draft?
100%. Yeah. What you don't realize is also that, and unless you're following Boise State, you don't know the personnel, right? But he goes in as a D tackle. And so he's playing inside. They have him gain some weight, but he's playing behind Scott Matlock, who at the time was a captain and future NFL defensive tackle for the Chargers. So he's learning the game and just developing. He plays his first year, doesn't get much playing time, but plays all the special teams, and just, we thought he was going to redshirt, but because of injuries, he ends up, using that redshirt year. And then sophomore year, he's still at the D tackle position behind Matlock. And then they had just brought in George Tarlis, who was a 5th-year transfer, and they put him on the edge. And so there were 2 guys there, and Tarlis ended up getting an invite to Raiders minicamp and things like that. So 2 NFL caliber guys that he was behind, whether he was interior or exterior, right on the edge. And so he didn't get a ton of playing times, but when he did, he showed out, right? 2 or 3 sacks, a couple tackles for loss, was a game wrecker. And you could tell, and I'm that brother that was at every game, like counting the snaps, like recording on my phone from wherever I was sitting and just hoping like he's going to get in there and make plays. And he starts making plays. But I knew, once he got the opportunity to be the guy, then that's when he was really going to show what he had in him. And so, that transition from midway through his sophomore year, they realized, okay, let's put him out on the edge and let's let him do that. And so that's when he got stuck behind Tarlis and he was rotating in. And I always thought, I think he's the better player, but you got to let that thing work its way out.
Right.
And let the coach, trust the coach's process. This time is also Andy Avalos as the head coach. Andy Avalos, a former BSU star and, a hero and legend around here, first head coaching opportunity. And so it was an interesting time for the program and an interesting time for the players and their relationships, and the culture around the program. So he didn't get as many opportunities as he would have liked, but going into his junior year, Andy Avalos still the head coach. He becomes the defensive end, starting defensive end. And I was quoted in saying like, dude's going to have double-digit sacks. When a reporter was asking me about my expectations for the year, I said he's going to have double-digit sacks, and the dude looked at me like I was crazy. He's literally said like we'll see, in a sarcastic manner. And I definitely had pride calling him halfway through the year and letting him know that he was beating double-digit sacks. Right? It's like, but it was like it was coming to fruition what I had expected. Right? He was doing what we knew he could always do. But then, as any, stud player on a defense, he ends up winning first team all conference. And then going into his senior year, now he's the focus, right? He's the focal point. And like you said, a new defensive coordinator comes in. They end up letting go of Andy Avalos at the end of his junior year and promoting Spencer Danielson, who becomes the first interim head coach to ever win a conference championship. They had less than 1% chance when they fired Avalos, and they ended up winning the Mountain West Championship. And so that motivation, that momentum that came from junior year just rolled straight into senior year, but the attention also came with it, right? So every DC in the game or every OC in the game is now focusing on stopping 91. And Shenander, being a smart defensive coordinator, understood that, hey, okay, we can get some pressure by using him to take away the attention and get some pressure from other sides, right? We're going to bring some extra backers we're going to overload a side. We're going to have him push inside and take the tackle and the guard, and then we'll loop a guy around outside. And so there's a reason Boise State University led the FBS in sacks with 55 last year. It's like, it's because, right, of that attention. And he, being the team player that he is, accepted that role. And I told him, every good scout, every good GM, every good head coach will understand that that's how football goes, right? Real fans can see the writing on the wall. And so no one's expecting you to hit 12 and a half, 15 anymore, right? Because that's probably not going to happen, especially when you're playing Oregon and you're playing these bigger schools. But you get up there towards that double-digit number, you show that you could do it back-to-back, and you show consistency in your production, and you are an NFL caliber player. And so he took that humbly, and after, having a streak of, I think, was 9 straight games with half a sack, which was in his junior year, which is the longest going back to 2015, I think. After having that consistency, I think he was a little frustrated to not have the production and seeing some of his other teammates, perhaps higher on the sack list than him. But that was just because of his competitiveness, and his humility kept him grounded and saying, like, as long as we're all winning and we're all eating, then that's good enough for me. And so he did what he needed to do, but still kept himself right under the radar, just enough so he could get to the 6th round for the Lions to pick him.
Perfect segue, Cory, because I was going to ask you. I mean, you said NFL scouts, GMs, they're going to notice, but when you think about head coaches too, when he got off the phone and you realized that he was going to the Detroit Lions to play for Dan Campbell, what was the first couple thoughts that were going through your mind after that?
Well, I mean, I was laughing internally because I had had previously hoped and prayed for the Detroit Lions because of Dan Campbell, right? Because of the culture around Detroit right now and the way that team is the trajectory of the team. I knew that after his progression from high school, his head coach, Mitch Olson, disciplinarian, tough guy, right? Loves his players, but is going to hold you accountable and get on your ass if you need it. And so that transition to Spencer Danielson, who is the highest energy, most motivating, charismatic leader, but also going to get on you if you need it, but develop you as a man. And so if you put Mitch Olson and Spencer Danielson together, you get Dan Campbell. And I was like, dude, this is the most ideal person to lead him and develop him and motivate him. And so I'm thinking, please let it be Detroit. Please. And as the draft is going on and we're not sure who's going to pick, and I'm watching Detroit pick every other position except for edge, I'm seeing it set itself up. But I'm still stressed as no other, right? I'm sitting on that couch, just twiddling my thumbs, looking at the big board, doing everything I can not to freak out, especially not to freak him out. And it wasn't until, that 6th round comes up and I'm like, okay, I got to give it up, man. I give it to God. And I said a prayer and I said it to Ahmed. I said, give it to God. He knows exactly what team needs you and exactly where you're supposed to be. And it was not a second later that call came in from the Lions. And so it was a humbling, almost like God laughing at me, like you've been stressing all day, but you knew it from the very beginning. And I knew where your brother was supposed to land up. And it is the perfect place for him. He is exactly what Dan Campbell, what Brad Holmes is going to want in a player. He's exactly what the city of Detroit is looking for in a dude to root for. He is going to give everything he's got all the time, not some of the time. And it's like, it's a match made in heaven, truly. Like, and especially even just seeing the way the community has embraced him and kind of looks at his potential and understands the developmental process. It's going to come faster than you think. I promise, Detroit. Like, 6th round is not representative of his ceiling. He's going to be a guy that I think in 2 or 3 years, you're going to look and you're going to be comparing with the edges that win in the 1st round, right? So if you can get that bargain in the 6th, maybe not the 1st, maybe the 2nd round, right? But I'm telling you, the best edges in this class are the guys that he was training with in pre-draft. Right. And he's calling me every day, telling me, guys, I'm as good as these dudes. And it's the same thing he was saying when he was going against the guys in high school. I'm as good as these dudes. And so I have a tendency to believe him now, right? And I'm not going to doubt the process. I'm going to trust and keep, remaining humble and praying. And God willing, he's going to continue to stay on the trajectory he's on. But, there could not be a better fit in program and culture and head coach and in the city that he ended up in.
It's interesting. I mean, we're so lucky to get your perspective because, I mean, it's funny. It's like, it is a perfect pairing. You nailed it because Brad has preached to this fan base and we've been starving for a good front office. So thank goodness it worked out where, your whole family now gets to root for a team that's, I mean, good thing you didn't get drafted 20 years ago, but regardless, what Brad Holmes has taught us is they looking at the human being first. And I think that's now clicking with us, with the media, with fans, where when a player's drafted, it's like, okay, he's not only a good player, but he's a great human, or they at least love something about him character wise, whether it's his work ethic. He's a good, they don't want to have to worry about him, obviously off the field, his values, all that stuff. But the thing that surprised us, we had our draft show and we are obviously big fans of Ahmed. And during the process, we're like, how it's the 6th round and we're refreshing the best available on ESPN and we're covering it. And we're like, how is he still here in the 6th round? I mean, not even just like based on production, everything. So Can you kind of give us more insight to like that process from like the combine, what feedback he was getting from organizations? What was kind of the feeling of where he thought he was going to go? And I know it was shocking he went in the 6th round, but how did that come to be? Because it feels like a guy with that production, with that type of talent. I know what happens every year in the NFL. I mean, Ahmed Ra was a 4th round pick. So there you go. But how does that happen? Can you go through that process?
Yeah. Well, to touch on a couple of things here, like one, being a coach, right, at the high school level, at the college level, it doesn't really matter. That character is important, right? Like you could have a great player, right? But if they don't have the right mentality and they don't fit the culture of the team, then it doesn't really matter, right? How good they are. If they're going to, there's a reason why, and I don't want to, talk trash on a kid, but like if Corey Foreman the number one recruit in the nation, goes to USC. My brother goes to Boise State. Corey Foreman now plays for Fresno State, and he's on his 5th year, right? And my brother just got drafted at the NFL. If that doesn't highlight, the importance of the right fit, the right mentality, the right character, the right work ethic, then I don't know what does. And that doesn't just stop at high school. That doesn't just stop in college, especially with today's NIL landscape, right? It's almost easier to find out what your motivation is, right? If you're playing for money, if you're looking for the next biggest paycheck, right? Then maybe you're not the guy to stick at a certain college or whatever. And that's what Spencer Danielson preaches at Boise State, is like, you can have everything you want at Boise State, including, the NIL deals and all that stuff, but you're going to play for a winning team, a championship level competitor every year, and you're going to become a great person at the end of the day. And I think GMs and coaches understand that. Not all of them, you had the Ravens GM, he has his own draft strategy, right? And he says, we don't trade up because it's a lottery pick. And at the end of the day, we don't know which ones are going to be successful. Nobody does. And when you listen to enough mock drafts during pre-draft season, myself being a Giant fan, right? And not a Giant fan, holy moly, I don't got to pause. I'm not a Giant fan. That's atrocious, right? Yeah. Being a huge football fan and a football mind and a coach and an advisor and manager, I'm thinking of what are people saying? And everyone values things differently. You heard all year about Ashton Gentry being in the Mountain West, right? And how he wasn't shouldn't be getting that Heisman because what's the competition like? But then he gets drafted in the 6th, the 6th pick in the draft. Obviously, they didn't really worry about his talent level, right? So I think it's a combination for Ahmed specifically. It's a combination of multiple things. It's lack of experience. You don't really know what you're getting. When you got a raw diamond, you don't know if it's going to be, perfect clarity, perfect cut, how many carats, because you still haven't discovered yet. And some guys, some GMs, some coaches might not be willing to risk their career, their reputation, their money, the organization's future on something that isn't guaranteed, right? And so I think that might be one thing. I think the level of competition, I think the rawness, I hate to say it, but not all coaches want to work hard. And sometimes, developing a guy takes a little bit extra effort. I think, Detroit's new defensive line, Casey Rogers, great opportunity for him to come in and have a moldable player who hasn't learned bad habits, who hasn't, done it his own way, has only learned within a couple systems. And so it's like this is an untapped resource that you can really make however you want, but those intangible qualities, what you're getting. And so I think it's a combination of all those things. And I think the production being at Boise State takes a little bit away. His measurables, he didn't jump off the page at the combine. I think his most memorable thing was his energy and his infectious, personality. And that is great, but maybe that's not what some teams are measuring, right? They want to see a long-armed guy who, has run sub 4.7 or something like that, right? Some guys want a 240-pound edge who's going to have great flexibility and bend because they want to use him in their scheme. I mean, my brother is going to be able to do a lot of different things, and whatever is asked of him is exactly the type of player he wants to be. He's not going to go off script. He's not going to, be an individual. He's going to be a team guy, and it starts with his power. It starts with his ability to stop the run. It starts with his physicality, but he's just an overall prospect that I think still had questions about him, right, in the process. And I think that some teams are willing and, to take on that risk. And some teams are better at seeing through the nonsense to what's really important in a prospect.
Cory, what do you think? And I was thinking about this today when we were, trying to, think of some questions to ask you, especially for this year. And I'm sure you and Ahmed have had conversations over the last few weeks about like, hey, this is maybe what he wants his rookie year to look like. And you mentioned it a lot, like, hey, kind of trust the process. What's his mindset going into this rookie year? Like, how is he going to approach it? Maybe like ceiling for this rookie year. Is it, hey, just take every opportunity as it comes? And because I told these guys when they got drafted, me and Jeff were having the conversation. I love the feel, everything about him. I was like, I'm all in. And especially in Detroit, everyone's like, we want an edge. And when he gets drafted, I was like, you see the work ethic. And the one thing I said is someone that has a work ethic like that, especially in the NFL. I gave the example of Max Crosby out of Eastern Michigan, late in the draft. But he has that mindset to where it's, as soon as I get an opportunity, I'm not going to let that thing slip. And it feels like it's the same thing with Ahmed. So have you guys had those conversations like, hey, this is what I want to do my rookie year? And what do you kind of tell him and realistically, like sitting down being like, these are the goals to set for yourselves and his goals going into this season?
Yeah, I don't think the goals have been so much, statistics based or role based. I think it's more mentality based, right? He's gonna, like I said, he's gonna show up and he's gonna do everything that's asked of him, and then some, right? He is going to pick the brains of every coach that's there, every player that's there that can help him develop and become a better football player. He knows that has not reached his ceiling, and so he is a sponge. He is looking for every opportunity, especially at the NFL level. It's like when he transitioned to college, it was, this giant awakening of like, wow, this is what it could be. And he's going to take that next step at the NFL level. And whether it's special teams, whether it's, a certain role on the defense, whether it's, he come in on early downs and stop the run, whether it's, come in on pass rush downs and get after the quarterback, he's going to do whatever it takes. I think realistically, and I don't want to speak like, too highly, but I truly believe that if he is able to digest the NFL defensive scheme, if he's able to, I don't think he's going to have a problem with the physicality of the NFL. I just don't. He's always been the strongest dude in the room. He don't put up 34 bench press reps on accident, if you know what I mean. And it's like, he is that guy. He's always been that guy. And so, like, there's going to be a few technique things. There's going to be obviously terminology and language. It's a much deeper, more complex defensive scheme. And so I think once he gets the hang of that and he starts to play free and fast, I truly believe that the sky's the limit. And I know, and there's a need, there's a concern. Are we going to pick up an extra free agent? Is Z going to come back? Who's going to come back? Who's going to fill that role? Who's left on the market, right? That could fill that role. It might be Ahmed. Like I truly believe that he's going to be a guy that, like, if that's the role that coach has him in, if coach trusts him to do it, then he will do it. And I think you're going to see him on the field, I believe, sooner rather than later.
That fires me up. I'm not gonna lie. And real quick, Klotz, I'll let you. I remember in that, I don't know why this just made me think of it, but on the Rich Eisen show, he had brought up Aaron Donald, that he always looked up to Aaron Donald. And I thought one of the funniest things, I think this is awesome. He said when he was watching Aaron Donald when he first started playing football, and he thought Aaron Donald was playing in high school. He said, "What high school does he go to?" Yeah. He said, I think it might have been you that told him. Said, "No, that's the NFL." Has he been able to connect with Aaron Donald yet? Has he had that conversation, or has there been any sort of connection to where he could work out with him? Or it sounded like Rich Eisen was going to hook that up.
I think he might at some point. What's funny is, okay, so the story goes, we're watching a Rams game. Aaron Donald's on the field. Who the hell is that? That's Aaron Donald. What high school does he go to? Bro, that's the NFL. Let me explain. This is how you got to do it. Go D1, then get good enough, then get drafted, then be an amazing NFL football player, make all the Pro Bowls, be ready to go Hall of Fame, then you're Aaron Donald. But, like, there is no other Aaron Donald. So nice try. You could be Ahmed Hassanein, and who knows what the ceiling is for Ahmed Hassanein, but, like, there's only one AD. Now, that doesn't stop him from trying, right? So he is just, grinding in the weight room. And recently, right after, that conversation with Rich Eisen, there was a viral video of somebody getting the opportunity to go meet Aaron Donald. And Aaron Donald invited him to work out. I don't know if you guys saw that video. And, and so what's funny, and this is who my brother is. The day after that video comes out, I look at my brother's Instagram story, and he's doing the same workout that Aaron Donald was doing in that video. He's got like 110 pounds, and he's doing like chest press dumbbells. And I'm like, dude saw the viral video. He's like that. Like, he's like personally took it on as a challenge. And so he'll beat Aaron Donald someday. And I'm sure he'll measure himself up to Aaron Donald and look at him and be like, okay, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, whatever, like he's not quite the football player yet, but I do not kid you when I say that he is built like Aaron Donald. I believe that he could play interior, he could play exterior. If they want to push him down and get after the quarterback on the inside, he's going to make some guards in the NFL look silly because he does have the quickness. He does have the explosives and the power. You know, he's 6'2.5" or so, 265. I'm sure, you know, gets in the NFL nutrition plan and the weight room. He's going to, you know, just thicken that up, not necessarily get heavier, but just become more efficient with that muscle and that strength. And I just think that, the sky is the limit. He's obviously no AD yet. He's AH, which is a few letters after AD. But I think AH is not a bad initials to have if you're an edge player for the Detroit Lions.
And Cory, something that's very prevalent with our conversation with you, and something that honestly I noticed about Ahmed right away when I started picking up on around the combine time, is how strong faith is in your guys' life. And I know that it was kind of Christianity, at least introduced to Ahmed kind of recently. How much has that played a role in your guys getting to the point where you have reached as far as brothers, getting to the NFL, you being right alongside with them, just how crazy everything has been up to this point?
Yeah, it's everything. And my brother will be the first to tell you he gives all glory, and so do I, to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We would not be where we are today if God did not, you know, put into place and put us on this path to get here. And there are, you know, it's like a connect the dots, and if one dot isn't there, then this whole thing falls apart. And it's like, it's so surreal to lean on God, to lean on our faith, to lean on the trust of the process, right? Trusting the process in so many steps. When COVID had shut down all recruiting and nobody knew his name, to then getting Division I scholarships a week later, to then having my high school or my college teammate be the one who reaches out, to then becoming the captain when Spencer Danielson becomes the head coach at Boise State, and they ascend to greatness together. It's like you don't write a script like this, and it's almost it truly is a miracle. And on top of all that, on top of the football, and on top of, you know, the worldly story, right? There is a spiritual story and a faith-based story that is deeper and more important than anything, right? My family in Egypt is Muslim, and the population in Egypt is predominantly Muslim. There is a Coptic Christian, you know, population there as well, but it is predominantly Muslim. And when my brother came from Egypt, he was not a devout, but he was practicing and would have identified as Muslim. And through, you know, my introduction, but it wasn't me, right? It was his own personal relationship with Jesus that he discovered throughout those formative years of college, and having a solid, you know, Christ-centered leader in Spencer Danielson, who wasn't afraid to share his faith, you know, helped embolden my brother and help him, you know, have confidence and just straight up bravery to convert, which is not something that is looked highly upon in that population or in that part of the world, or just the amount of just, I don't even know how to describe it, just conviction that he felt and continues to display in everything that he does, you know, whether that's his faith, that's sharing with the next generation, whether that's giving back, or just, you know, sharing his emotions and loving on people. Like, he does it with everything that he has. And so he will be the first to tell you, I will be the first to tell you, like, we give God all the glory. We know that this is not our doing, and it's impacting thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds, potentially millions of people who are going to see this opportunity, see his story, see his journey, and understand that there is a God who loves them and who has sacrificed for them, and that they have the access to that too. And I know that's something that I take pride in. I know that's something that my brother takes pride in, and is hoping to influence as many people as he can for the kingdom.
I love that. I mean, a God-fearing man with that type of work ethic, my goodness.
Yeah,
we're fired up about it. I want to ask you too, has anyone reached out to Ahmed after he's been drafted, besides like coaches, obviously? Has any players reached out to him?
I know he sent me a text. I know Dan said something to him, right? And he was excited about that. He sent me a screenshot.
Oh, hell yeah.
We need to get a video camera on him and Dan the first time they meet.
Oh,
if you need me to film it, I'll be there like that. But we need to make sure that there is a camera guy.
That bro hug is gonna be.
You'll be able to squish something in between their chests for sure. Kill a small animal for sure. But I think my brother reached out to Aiden, I think Aiden followed him on Instagram, and he conversed quickly back and forth with Aiden.
That's awesome.
I think he was a little like unnerved because Aiden might have been a little short with him, and he's like, "So this is our first introduction. Like, I just want to learn from you, bro. Like, you're the GOAT. I'm not coming for your spot. I just want to play with you, you know." But like he's like, okay, like I can't wait to meet these dudes, and they're gonna notice that, you know, once he gets in person, you guys are gonna see, you know, once he gets to training camp, his personality is infectious. Like he is a guy that wants to learn from everybody, right? He's gonna be picking anyone who will listen's brain, right? And to try and become the best player that he has, but also just to relate and just ingratiate himself with the environment. And so, yeah, he's had a couple people, some random like fans have reached out. It's pretty funny. Like, you guys saw he got engaged on draft day, right? Yep. And so what was really funny is he gets a message from a Detroit Lions fan by the name of Taylor Lautner, right? None other than the guy from Twilight, which was his fiance's crush when she was growing up. So there's some like discourse there, like, can't wait to make you a lion, but he's like, hey, stay away from my girl, right? So funny. And she's like, I cannot believe that is like my high school crush. That's literally messaging my fiance, like, this is insane. Her mind was blown. You know, it's funny stuff like that. Can't wait. I know Eminem is a huge Detroit Lions fan. Would be amazing to meet him, Kid Rock, all those major players in the Detroit, Michigan area. But man, he's ready to make an impact and love on his teammates and the surrounding city of Detroit as soon as he gets there, which will be Wednesday after I take him to the airport.
Come on,
let's go. Hey, what we need to do, Cory? Are you going to be in Detroit at some point this offseason? Or
I better. Now I have to pay my own way, so we'll see about that. But you know, like it was nice when we were doing like the pre-draft process. I could put it on his agent and all that stuff. And now it's like, man, you mean he's got his own paycheck? He's got to help pay? I'm like, oh man, all right. But yes, I will be there. I will be in Detroit. I don't know when, but I'm gonna make sure I get there. I know my sister my sister from Egypt is potentially looking about moving from Egypt to the U.S. And so she wants to explore the Detroit area. And I think I'm going to try and coordinate, find out when training camp is, find out when the best time would be, and get out there to Detroit and you know, see what it's all about.
When you get here, we'll do something with you. We'll get you to the Lafayette, Coney, American Coney. We'll do all these different these food joints in Detroit. We could show you around a little bit.
Cool, man. Yeah, I would love it.
Get the full experience.
I mean, Cory, a good Coney dog will change your life, Cory.
Oh,
man. I can't wait.
Have you heard of the rivalry? There's a rivalry in downtown, so you'll have to look it up. And then once you get here, we'll go. We'll see which one's the best.
Yeah, you could settle it.
I would be glad to. I'm gonna be 265 by the end of it, but it's okay.
Come on now.
I love that. Go ahead. You guys got anything else?
Yeah. One last thing, Cory. So Ahmed talk about Aaron Donald. That's like his GOAT.
Yeah.
Who's Cory's Aaron Donald? Who was like your guy growing up that you were like, that is my GOAT? Yeah.
Well, I guess I was just talking about this with somebody from the Boise area. I mentioned that my play style and you know, a slot receiver, undersized, but a technician, a route runner, right? Like never dropped a ball. We talk about our boy Tesla, right? I wanted to talk about that a little bit, right? Dude didn't have a single drop, right?
In
all college. Okay, I got some inside information. I will go back to my GOAT for a second, but let me drop this little bit of wisdom.
all right.
And this is like my football analyst in here. Okay, trading up, we could talk about that, but let's talk about the fact that this dude did not drop a single ball, and we've all seen the highlights. How many of those catches are contested?
Right? A lot of them.
He
goes up and gets them now.
The quarterback at Arkansas, again, I don't like to ever talk bad about football players, but I'm gonna analyze right here. The quarterback at Arkansas, Taylor Green, formerly the quarterback at Boise State University. So I've seen a ton of him at quarterback. Okay, he is a athletic freak. Never seen a quarterback turn a corner and run down the sideline faster than Taylor Green. But I will promise you, his weakness of his game was passing from the pocket, mid to intermediate throws, and throwing on time, right? Sometimes when you get an athletic quarterback, they tend to hold on to the ball a little bit, right? They want to buy time with their legs. And so they don't play within the scheme, especially if you're a rhythm offense and you want to get it out early. And so if you watch those Tesla highlights right? He is open early a lot of the time. And it's a half a second late that the quarterback's getting that ball to him. That's giving the defender a second to get into the play. Right. And now he's going to have to go make a high point catch or a contested catch. You put Jared Goff in that situation with the route running that Isaac Tesla has shown at the college level, and you put him on, whether that's outside. Just think of Amon-Ra, J-Mo, and Tesla, who's a route running for Jordy Nelson-esque, Eric Decker-esque, right? Someone who's always going to be in the right spot at the right time. What better receiving core do you want, right? You got every tool in the tool bag, and you got a quarterback who knows exactly when and where to use it. I think it's a great pick. I think he's going to dominate in the offense this year. I think it's going to be a fun offense to watch, a passing game to watch. But so to that, man, my camera is.
You're good.
What are we doing, bro? Come on.
Yo, you're
I'm
good.
doing too much.
There we go. We're back.
I'm the blur, dog. That's me. That was me as a football player. So fast you can't even keep a focus. No, I think he's going to kill it. And being a slot receiver, watching the way he sets up the safety, watching the way he can get off a release, stem a guy back up, right? Make a man miss. I think that that is going to translate really well to the Lions offense. And for me, it was, unfortunately, when I talked to this guy in Boise, I told him about my play style. I told him, he goes, "Oh, so you were like Hunter Renfrow." I was like, way too young. I was like, I wasn't even Julian Edelman. I was the Wes Welker generation. So that's my comp. I was Wes Welker. That is the GOAT of slot receivers, right? He was the first that like changed the game in Bill Belichick's scheme and with Tom Brady, right? Always having that security blanket, always getting open. 100% of it, like never going to drop a ball, except for that. There's probably one infamous drop that Welker had, but it's like that was my comp, that was my GOAT, and I think yeah, that's who it would be for me, minus all the concussions and the giant bobblehead he wore at the end of his career.
Hey, gritty player too, undrafted or 7th round pick out of Texas Tech, I believe.
Yep, and a punt returner, kick returner, got his start with the Dolphins, and then it was. Like we said before, it was a guy with a vision, right? A GM with a vision or a coach with a vision, Bill Belichick, that said, we could take that guy and make him the integral part of our offense. And look at what happens. They win multiple Super Bowls. So it's like, if you trust the process, if you trust the vision, if you know what you're looking for and you have the conviction to go out and do it, like, why wouldn't you go get your guys? Whether that's Wes Welker, Isaac Tesla, Ahmed Hassanein, right? As long as the Super Bowl is at the end of it, man.
Wow. I mean, we get the comments now in the chat. It's like, Cory, the ball nowhere. I mean, the Wes Walker pull, that's a ball nowhere pull. I mean,
hey Cory,
that's incredible.
I'm going to throw this out there. Anytime you need to get a takeoff or anytime you want to talk ball, shoot me a text. You're on the show. You're coming out.
Would love it, man. Would love it. I love talking. This is my thing, man. I love talking sports. Like I said, I was the kid watching ESPN as a young man, and I remember one of my very first tweets I ever sent off was to Kevin Nagandi. And, he was like saying his favorite candies, and it happened to be the same list as me. And I was like, I can't believe we have the same candy. I would love to be in your spot someday. And he's like, don't put it past you. Like, I was like, you never know, right? You never know. So be a little sports analyst on the side. I wouldn't mind doing it. And I love being here. This has been a cool experience. And yeah, definitely looking forward to talking ball and seeing, what the Detroit Lions do this season and in the coming future.
I love that.
I'm fired up after this, man.
I mean,
I'm ready
Cory,
to go. I can't wait till August, September, till training.
I'm gonna drop you with one last story. You guys ready?
Oh yeah,
let's go.
Okay,
go ahead.
This is my sign off story. Okay, so I'm talking to Egypt, right? Because I've had to translate every step of this process, from hiring an agent to the draft to stats and everything, to my family in Egypt. My Arabic speaking dad, he speaks English as well too, but my guy has become a huge football fan in the meantime, and is trying to bring me stuff. See, I know what I'm talking about, and all these things, and so my sister was here in town for the draft. She just went back to Egypt, and she brought a bunch of clothes with her, and we still have our youngest brother Ibrahim, who's in Egypt right now, and so I called my dad yesterday. And my brother gets on the thing, and he's got this shirt on, and it's got printed on the shirt. He's got this gold chain, right? And this big printed bulldog on the front. And it's kind of cheesy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, what is he wearing? Okay, and it's got like it says like the dogs. It's got like jersey style, but it's like really really odd graphic. And so then my brother turns around and shows me the back of the jersey, and it's got a number and it says dogs, but across the top it says the word relentless. And I love that word because people have described Ahmed as relentless all the time. So I call it out. I say relentless. That's cool. Like, do you know what that means? And I'm talking to my little brother who's 14, I think, and telling him, you know, do you know what that means? He barely speaks any English, but I'm just going to translate what relentless means. And my dad, who's about to be 70, goes, I don't actually know what that means. Right. And I'm like, wait, you don't know what relentless means? And so I was like, okay, let me try and explain it. So I'm an English teacher. I give him my personal definition. And I said, you know, doesn't ever stop. You're right. There's no whatever. And then I looked it up for him. And it was my favorite. It is now my favorite definition. It said, relentless is 3 words: oppressively constant and incessant. And when I was like, oppressive, forceful, overwhelming, right? Like, he knows what an oppressive environment is like. He lives in a third world country with an authoritarian government, right? He knows what being oppressed is like. Constant and never stopping, and incessant, to be without pause or stopping ever. If there is not a better word to describe my brother, I don't know what it is. My brother is truly relentless. He will not ever stop, ever, until he reaches his goal. So whether that is, you know, the Hall of Fame, the Pro Bowl, a Super Bowl, he is never going to stop pursuing the quarterback, pursuing greatness, pursuing Jesus, whatever it is, he's never going to stop. He is truly relentless. There's no better word, maybe other than grit, to describe who he is as a man. But man, this dude is relentless, oppressively constant, incessant. He's going to rush the passer that way. He's going to do everything that way. So you guys have a fun time, a fun future ahead of you guys, Detroit. I promise.
I'm going to throw this out there. Our chat and a lot of fans have been calling your brother maybe like the quarterback assassin, maybe the relentless assassin. I'm just throwing out a nickname.
The
maybe
Egyptian magician. I mean, I've seen
there's been a lot of nicknames getting thrown around, Cory.
Hey, whatever sticks, whatever you guys want. I've tried to get him to do the walk like the Egyptian theme for like when we play that, but no, he's not down for that. He likes to kick down doors. He likes to do whatever. I said, hey, you just get sacks and you can celebrate however you want. I promise. We'll call you whatever you want. The Hassanein. I've heard that. I've heard the Egyptian.
Right here. The relentless Hassanein. I like this.
The Hassanein. His name is a little tough, so we got to get him something that's easier to go with. And AH squared is going to be what I think the edge position is going to be for a long time, right? With Aiden in the middle.
Come on.
Yeah, it's like,
what you're doing there.
I just think we have a bright future ahead of us, and quarterbacks have gonna have a nightmare on their hands.
I'm so pumped up. I can't wait.
I mean, you are one hell of a storyteller, man. I mean, I have to say that you are one hell. It makes sense, like the background, a football coach, you're a teacher, just the way you communicate. I'm sitting here like, I feel like I was there. I feel like
that's my papa, brother. Hey, when I tell you that my grandfather was that guy, he lives through me. Like, another crazy story. So I get this tattoo, right, of me and my grandpa when I'm in Austria. Okay. Before I even go to Egypt, I get this tattoo, and I get it. It represents my journey with my grandfather and his mentorship over me. But when I got it, I said to myself, this also represents me and the next generation, right? All the football players I've helped raise, develop and raise and teach how to be a man, not knowing that in a week or so, after a couple weeks after I get this tattoo, I'm going to then go to Egypt and fill that same role for my brother. What's crazy is this: my brother he's got a full sleeve tattoo on his right arm, and it represents his journey, right? Just like my tattoo represents my past and my journey, he's getting a full sleeve tattoo representing his journey. And I get a Facebook memory that pops up, and it says 6 years, not to the day, to the literal second that I was getting this tattoo, my brother's getting his tattoo done of his journey. So it's like, it was actually like kind of one of those moments where you go like, and I even checked like the time difference. Like Okay, this is when I was getting my tattoo in Austria. What would the time have been in Boise? Like at the same, it's literally the same second. I'm like, what is happening? Like when so many of these things line up, you just stop questioning. You start saying, okay, God, I'm gonna let you take the reins. You just lead me wherever you and tell me what to do. I'll let you, handle the rest. And so it's been an amazing, amazing journey. I can't wait to see what else is to come because I know God's not done with the story yet.
Oh no. Not at all. With a guy like that, with that much relentlessness, I mean, we are fired up to have him here, man. We're fired up to have you. I mean, fired up to have his family too. I mean,
appreciate that, man.
Especially the players, man. We take pride in it. I mean, these guys, we root for these players, but we love the families too. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes, man. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna have to turn on some Ahmed highlights. I think that's what I'm gonna have to do at 10 o'clock when the show ends. I might just fire up the highlights.
Bro, there's highlights that you guys haven't even seen because, like, from his sophomore year, his junior year, there's a couple that I've got on my phone that are like, dude, just sending a guy through the back of the end zone. Right? Like I'm like, that's a Division I football player that you just made look like a little baby. Like it's just insane to see like what he can do when the situation is right. He hasn't even reached his. He even in the scheme he was limited on what he was allowed to do. He told me, he's like, they told me, bro, I could never spin. I go, really? Because at the East-West Shrine Bowl, you busted one of the best spin moves in the entire camp. He's like, yeah, I just practiced that day. It's like, bro, you give him a season of doing those types of moves, of developing his pass rush plan, right? Of getting a couple alternative moves, right? And then you let a coach, build that scheme around it. Man, I'm telling you, the highlights aren't even going to be representative of what he's going to be doing this year. They're going to be a limited sample of what you're getting in Ahmed Hassanein.
I can't believe that. That's the no spin move. I mean, that's like Aiden Hutchinson's signature move. I mean, this guy going to get to the NFL, he might even be a much better pass rusher because they're going to let him get a little more creative. I feel like that's how the Lions are, though, at the same time. I mean, they'll let guys kind of be themselves. I'm excited, man. He's in a great spot.
Yeah, they were definitely leveraging his strengths there, right? Knowing this is what he does amazingly, right? He will set the edge like nobody else. He will take on a pulling guard or a counter block and literally make that guy regret like coming at him. It's like containing an edge. They put him on a side and they said, we don't have to worry about this. Let's scheme up the rest of the defense. And he did his job every single time. I think that was the scheme. Now, when you get to the NFL and you can pass rush 4 and let him go inside or outside and set a guy up, man, he's excited about the potential opportunities that he's going to have at this next level.
Oh,
love it, man.
Let's go.
I'm fired up.
Yeah, we appreciate
A squared, baby.
We do.
A squared.
A squared, baby.
A squared. I mean, remember the name, dude. Remember the name. We appreciate you, Cory. We got to link up, man. When you get to Detroit, we'll do something because it's a great city. I mean, he's
love it, man.
It's a great.
Yeah, and I'll be on anytime. You guys let me know. I could hop on. And I definitely won't take up an hour, an hour and a half, or whatever.
Hey, it might be one of the greatest hours of this show's history.
Yeah, don't you apologize. This is great. Bro. It was awesome. We had a blast, man. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
God bless you too, man. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
There you go.
Appreciate it, Cory.
Cory Besch, the brother of Ahmed Hassanein, joining the program, dude. He is that guy. That guy's got it.
Yeah,
that guy's got it. Cory's got it.
That might have been the best hour we've had in Crunch Time sports history. That was unbelievable.
Yeah,
I'm pumped up. I'm fired up. I want to watch football now. You know what I mean? I want to see the Lions play. I can't wait till training.
You want to get in the film room, Boone?
Yeah, that was excited. We have like the power rankings of like Crunch Time moments. Like Trey Wingo up there. Cory, he has solidified his spot up there. He's an amazing storyteller. I think it's nice. There's always a story behind the story, and when you have people that are so close to a player like Ahmed, you get like a background to him. The way he tells the story, it's like it just makes sense to me. Like why the Lions would like fall in love with him. I don't know. You get more context, and it starts clicking in your head. Like as he's speaking, I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, this is why they love the guy. I mean, that's what makes it so hard for me to believe. Like, and maybe it is just fate at the end of the day where he falls to the right team, but it's like,
I'm excited. Listen,
you're fired up about this guy.
Just looking back to it, like from the draft, I think he's going to go out there and get 6 or 7 sacks. Like, everything in my power, I'm sitting back here saying, I think he's going to do it. Like, I'm fired up. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, the AH, he was dropping.
AH squared.
Cory was dropping some like Tony Robbins bars. I mean, he said something in there about AH. God. I was like, there's another AH. I was like, oh my gosh, there ain't no shit. There's another AH, dude.
Finally hit him.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. William, appreciate the $2. He says Ahmed Hassanein is going to be him.
He is.
Yeah, he appreciate you guys for tuning in, man. Appreciate Cory.
It's crazy too, just thinking about it. Like our combine visit when we went to the combine, full circle moment, right? Like.
Yeah,
we saw him competing at the combine, and I think it might have been you actually, Jeff. I was telling Cory, like, look around and be like, hey, we if people don't know, we have our sheets at the combine and we circle because we do the show at night, and the edges were going that day. We circle players, and we all circled the same player, looked at each other and went, he's a dude. Like that's a guy to keep an eye on, and Lions end up drafting him. Full circle.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have, especially, and you look at the Zadarius Smith stuff. I mean, Cory kind of mentioned it. Who knows what's going to happen with that? I mean, he might have, if you look at just Ahmed's path to like getting and playing a lot this year, he's going to play special teams. So he's going to be, he already played, and the fact that Cory mentioned he already played special teams, they're going to love him. He's going to play some special teams. But if you look at the edge position, I mean, all due respect to Marcus Davenport, I know Cory said he won't talk bad about anyone, but I will. Marcus Davenport doesn't stay healthy. So there's an entryway there, like behind him. You know what I mean? Like there is definitely a scenario where Ahmed could just, with the right element, everything clicks. You could see him playing earlier, especially with his ability to go outside and inside. He has that some of that versatility. He's played both.
He's got to get an opportunity at the end of the day, right? And I said it the night of the draft or day 3. He's just one of those guys where it's like, get that opportunity. You don't see those types of players who just work that hard, the story, everything about it. You don't see those players give up those opportunities. And that was what that draft night when we had that conversation. It's like, hey, like, don't be shocked if he goes out there this year and produces for you and produces for the Lions. I don't care if you're a 6th-round pick. I mean, we saw James Houston do it for a little bit. Obviously, that didn't work out. But we've seen players do it from the Detroit Lions and Brad Holmes' regime. And that's where my mind goes with it right away. Is like, hey, you know the story. We saw him at the combine. When you see guys like that at the combine, you put it all together. You get an opportunity. You don't let the opportunity go. That's where I'm like, I think it happens. I do. Maybe they found their guy in the 6th round. Fans are pounding the table for an edge. Got one.
Yeah, and people got to stop like obsessing over like when he was selected or he was, a 6th-round pick. Like when the draft's over, he's just another play. They all have the same opportunity. Now, like guys earlier may have, you're drafted to a team that, has needs. Like the Lions are a really good team, so I guess that's a little different. But still, they're at the end of the day, they all are going to have an opportunity. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's like Amon-Ra came in. I get the team was worse, but Amon-Ra, look at what he did his rookie year and he was a 4th-round pick, and it's not like in college he was this explosive, big name receiver at USC. I mean, Ahmed's had the production, but people need to stop getting like this 6th-round pick thing. Like, oh, he's a 6th-round pick. Yeah, I mean, he might not make the roster. He's making the roster, dude. All right, like stop being. Let's all like let's think about this for a second. He's making the roster. Like, that's not a question. I think with his ability to play special teams, his versatility, I think obviously you add in his mentality, and his work ethic. I don't doubt he's going to make the roster. And then after that, it's all opinion. We obviously think he has a chance to do some special things, but yeah,
I'm interested to see
thing out of people's heads, man. It's like we've seen this in Detroit, man. We've seen this. We've seen players that are drafted in the 6th round. I mean, Mahogany. This is Mahogany.
It's clear a guy falls, right?
Mahogany.
A player that should have been 3rd. Like, think about when we did mock drafts. All right, can we talk about that? When we did mock drafts, Ahmed was going in the 3rd round on every mock draft I did, right? And you get him in the 6th round. It's the same thing with Miles Frazier, to where he was going 2nd, 3rd round, and the Lions get him in the 5th round. You're sitting there going, how did that happen? Maybe Brad just drafts best player available, and if there is a guy that is falling, like Ahmed, Hassanein, or Miles Frazier, you go and get him, and you don't let him keep falling, and you go say, hey, we'll take a starter in the 6th round, right? Like, this guy's going to be – this guy has all the potential in the world in the ceiling in the world to be a starter in the NFL. It's the same thing with him, and it's the same like Miles Frazier, Christian Mahogany, and Brad's done it all. He's done it for 4 or 5 years now with the Lions, and it just feels like every year there's a guy or two in the 5th, 6th round.
Always one.
That Brad's like, why is this guy sitting here? He shouldn't be here. He should have been gone 2 rounds. He should have been a day 2 guy. Why is he sitting here in day 3? Why? All right, here we go. We'll take him and we'll turn him into a star player, right? Like that's what it is. Like Christian Mahogany, going to be a starter for you.
Yeah, the Mahogany thing. He was a 6th round pick. He came and started, and now he's the future. It's like, let's stop acting. I don't know.
I'm fired up. I'm not going to lie.
And by the way, speaking of the people down,
this is ridiculous. By the way,
Athletic. I mean, you guys can just stick it where the sun don't shine. I mean, what are we doing? Look at the draft grades for the teams, and this is Austin Mox. His last name's Mox. Damn,
that might just be. It might just be Austin's Mox. I don't know.
He gave every team a draft grade. The jokes when you're doing a test and it's the Scantron and it's like A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, A. This dude definitely looked at this and went, A, B, B, C, 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 D, 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 F, 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 F. Like, there's no way you're looking at these teams and going, A. The only team I actually agree, like one of the teams I do actually agree with is the Giants. I think the Giants had a really good draft. So if you want to give them an A, like the Browns, okay, fine. Once you're getting to like some of these other teams, like the Patriots got a B. How?
He gave the Eagles a C.
The Eagles got a C. Yeah. How? It says based on the composite score of player, positional, and trade value. So,
I mean, he gave 80% of the NFL not a passing grade. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not realistic.
So what they're saying is this what I'm getting, fellas? You're saying because they drafted a defensive tackle in Tyleek, who many experts had him as the 45th best player, and he took a guard and then he took a wide receiver. I guess that is that positional. It says positional and trade value. So positional, maybe defensive tackle in the 1st round lowers it. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That's like.
I'll tell you this too. This feels like, and I don't know if you guys get the same feeling, but sometimes in the media, especially like in today's world with the Lions, it does feel like there are. In Klotz, me and you do a lot of. We run the socials, so we kind of get a feeling for. At least I do. I see it a lot. I see a lot of people do this to where they want to get clickbait out of the Lions, right? Like they'll purposely give the Lions. Like, why are the Lions dead last out of the whole NFL? They're 32 out of 32 on this list. You're telling me that he truly believes that? There's a 0% chance. This is one of those things. And I'm not saying Austin Mox doesn't have integrity, but this is where's your journalistic integrity, Austin? Like, there's no way. Like, you literally just did that just so you can get more clicks, because a lot of people, especially Lions fans, when you say something bad about them, Lions fans are going to click. They're going to talk about it just like we are. And that's exactly kind of the way Austin, I'm sure, has gone about it, because we've seen it over the last, I'll say, 2 seasons. A lot of people just like Trey Wingo, or not Trey Wingo. Sorry, I love Trey Wingo. Pete Prisco just constantly just putting the Lions in like the worst possible positions in any rankings, quarterback, wide receiver, power rankings that he has, just putting them in like the bottom just so he can get more clicks, because he knows that Lion fans are going to react to it, right? There's no journalistic integrity at the end of the day. I know we're not really like journalists here, but these guys are. Like, you're writing an article. We don't write articles, but they do. If you're going to write articles, at least be realistic, right? Like, this is insane.
I'm with you, but like, how are the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had a solid draft? Like, let's go through the Pittsburgh Steelers draft. Okay, Derek Harmon, defensive tackle, round 1, took him 20th overall, 21st. Caleb Johnson in round 3, running back, pretty good. Round 3 running back. Jack Sawyer, round 4, linebacker. Will Howard, round 6. Like, they had a good draft. You're going to tell me that's a B to F difference when the Lions got they went up and they got Tyleek Williams in the 1st round. Then you get Tate Ratledge and Isaac Tesla in the first 3 rounds. And the Pittsburgh Steelers got Derek Harmon, Caleb Johnson. That's a B compared to an F. So there's just a lot of these things where the correlation's just not there. Like, I'm not even a Jaguars fan. How do the Jaguars get an F? when you're walking out
By
with
the
the best
way.
player in the draft.
That's the craziest part. By the way, too, Klotz, think about this. Who were our top 5 GMs? Les Snead, Howie Roseman, Brad Holmes. Who am I missing here?
Brett Veach.
Brett Veach. There's one more I'm missing. Who am I missing?
John Lynch.
John Lynch, 49ers. Yes. You trust those guys. Like, you can't question those guys' drafts. Like, you can't. I know whether you think you know more than them or not, or these guys didn't get positional value, trade, whatever it is. You're telling me Howie Roseman, C. John Lynch, D+. Les Snead, D. And Brad Holmes, F. You're going to sit there with the straight face and tell me that those 4 guys just had some of the worst drafts in the NFL this year?
No way.
There's no way. Like this is clickbait, knowing that fan bases that have some of the best GMs in the NFL are going to say something. And guess what we did? We fell into it. By the way, the New York Knicks, they were down like 15 or 20. They were down a lot. I don't know if it was 20. They come back. Jalen Brunson, he had I think he had 8 points through 3 quarters or like 12 through 3. And they beat the Celtics in overtime.
Did you see who had 29 though?
Who did?
OG. OG had 29.
That's so funny, man. Oh, man.
Yeah, I saw too that
That's
Jason
crazy.
Tatum's dealing with that wrist. He's still dealing with that wrist injury. He's not shooting the ball well.
Excuses. Are you a star or are you not?
No,
That's
but
why
I'm just
I always
saying
have
that
Jason
still
Tatum
have
outside.
316
Celtics might be they might
People-
be beatable.
People
mean-
tell me all the time Jason Tatum's top 5 in the NBA. I always disagree. It's just me. Today was why.
Yeah, I mean that's surprising that they beat the Celtics.
They were down. Let me pull up the. Let me see it real quick.
No way it happened. I mean, there's no way.
In Boston too. They were down 20 at
Dude,
one point.
I can't
The
imagine
Celtics
what
had a
New York-
20 point.
That's what
lead.
happens though. Teams come out of just a battle of a series and they sneak up on a team that had a walk. They had a cakewalk. I mean, the Celtics whooped the Magic, had no competition.
I wouldn't be
And-
shocked if the Knicks win this series and you get like Pacers, Knicks, and then one of those that'd be crazy if one of those 2 teams are in the finals. I wouldn't be shocked. The Knicks aren't that bad. I was thinking about it today. Like a lot of people are like saying, "Oh, Detroit, like the Knicks only beat a 6 seed." Like Pistons were pretty good, and the Knicks, like you could say they struggled, so they might not be good. No, the Pistons might have just been that good. You know what I mean, boys?
No, they were a good team. I mean,
So
they-
like this Knicks team might be the best team in the East right now because they have a squad. They do. They have 7 dudes that can.
I'm still gonna go Celtics. I think the Celtics are.
I don't know.
Cavs,
I'm
fuck
going
Knicks.
Knicks.
Cavs,
I'm going
oh.
Knicks Pacers.
Hey, Cavs don't have Darius Garland. They're done, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I
The
didn't
Pacers
see
are
that.
playing. Did you watch the Pacers? Oh, you were
Yeah,
sick,
they
Klotz.
ran up and
Pacers
down
look
all over 'em.
very good, by the
Yeah,
way,
they-
too. Pacers look very good. Siakam, Tyrese, they look good.
Siakam
be-
a star, Boone?
Yeah, right now he is in the East. He's hooping. I think Tyrese is as well.
Yeah, I don't.
I think they're both top 35, 40 in the NBA.
What if
They
you get
are.
what if you get like a Thunder Knicks finals or something?
The only team I don't want in the finals
Ratings
is
are-
the Thunders. The Thunder. I don't
It's
know what
gonna
it
be
is.
Like just a
Because it's just soft basketball, man.
Yeah.
It just
I would
is.
like Warriors
that's
Knicks,
true.
I think would be.
I guess that is true.
I think Warriors Knicks to me would be the funnest NBA finals. I think that'd be pretty entertaining. Steph Curry and then obviously New York. Like when was the last time we've never in our lifetime, we've never seen New York in an NBA finals since Patrick Ewing. I wasn't even alive.
Yeah, but
in
that
the
I don't even
90s.
want to see that. That city, they won an NBA championship. I don't even. I mean,
We'll never
they'll
hear the end of it.
No, I don't hate New York like that. I don't.
After
I
the
think-
series, I do. That series was so annoying to watch. No.
I think after
No.
like I look at Jalen Brunson, I give him some respect. I don't think he's that bad. I think he's a good player. Josh Hart, I can get over it, dude. I don't care. I respect
you see,
it.
Knicks are on like a dartboard for me.
If those players were on the Pistons, we would love them playing.
Yeah,
like
but they're
that.
not.
Yeah.
yeah. I was gonna say, Boone. You know that's I get it, but you know,
Yeah,
sports,
I
you
just I
hate
don't
guys.
I don't know what it is. It just I hate guys typically like Karl Anthony Towns. I hate. It's a strong word, but
I
Do
just
you
I'm not
enjoy
a
like Jalen Brunson's good at basketball, but you're telling me you thoroughly enjoy watching Jalen Brunson over the course of 6 games, and like that's
I like
who
watching
you
Jalen
want to
Brunson
win
play.
what you want to watch him in the finals with
Jalen
Cat?
Brunson's not the problem for me on the Knicks. It's Cat.
It-
Like
it-
I like
it's
watching
both
Jalen
of
Brunson.
them.
Jalen Brunson
both.
is unbelievable. I'm sure if you watch tonight's game back, it looked like he went off. It would have been a good game to see.
Like he's a good player.
You got to
I
respect
cannot
him.
stand the way that he plays. Like I don't want to watch him and Cat in NBA Finals and Josh Hart, the bad.
See, that's where I disagree. I think Jalen Brunson. We had a player at Saginaw who played like Brunson, small guard, and I think it's entertaining. Seeing a small
did he
guard just
flop a
get
lot?
buckets. No, I mean take the flopping away. Jalen Brunson like will get a bucket, and it's like
No, he will. That is the
whoa.
flopping. I think that pisses people off. But
Yeah,
but that
I mean
happens.
the
That
flopping,
happens.
yeah, but
Yeah, like
his
Shea,
game.
like Shea does it. Shea does it too. I mean,
Yeah, like Etienne just said it. Brunson's talent makes up for his annoying tendency. 100%. Like Brunson is a pure
did you
hooper.
see, you know how Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson have a podcast? They played like
I saw
a
this.
compilation of Karl Anthony Towns. when he
Oh, I
doesn't
didn't
get
see
a
that.
foul. They played like a compilation of when he doesn't get a foul. He's like, "Oh my god!" and he makes these noises, and they played like a compilation in front of them, and they were both like try not to laugh. It was just-
Brunson,
Dude, Karl Anthony Towns is probably.
I hate him. I'm
up
sorry.
there for
He's
sure.
my Joel Embiid. I can't stand Joel Embiid. Brunson kind of gave credit to Detroit though. LCA. He was like, hey, it was rocking there.
Yeah.
Like, he kind of gave the credit today for them. So I respect. See, Brunson, I like Jalen Brunson. Before the series, I would say he's one of my favorite players to watch in the NBA. So I don't think I think in this series he flopped, but I don't think I've seen Jalen Brunson play a million times. I don't think he flops like people think he does. Like SGA. Like, he's not an SGA type flopper or LeBron.
Hey, you know who causes no problems over there?
Josh Hart. OG.
Bring him home. Bring him home.
Who, OG?
Yeah, he would start for Tim Hardaway Jr.
Can we? Okay, I don't know if we're gonna have this conversation tomorrow, and we can still if we want. Can we not? And listen, Mike Valenti does a great job. Can we not ever
Zion?
have a conversation about Zion Williamson to the Detroit Pistons? I don't ever want to hear it. I don't ever want to hear it. 2 years ago, or maybe Jeff, you can educate me in a minute on when it was. Pistons fans were and me and you, Jeff, I remember got into it a lot, and you guys were dying on the hill. Bring Zion to Detroit. He'll change everything.
I wasn't.
I got in an argument with someone at Woodward, and it was a big argument, and I tweeted it out, and I got all this hate from Pistons fans, and all these people came at me, and the only thing I said is, you're really going to give up the house for someone who will play half a season for you, and you're not guaranteed to have him in the playoffs. I do not want Zion Williamson anywhere near LCA unless he's coming and playing on a different team.
I think me and
I don't
Adam
ever want to hear that conversation again.
It's been going on for a while because I actually remember having that conversation with Adam.
It might have been Adam that me and him were going at it, and I was like, I'm not doing it.
I don't know. I think he might have been on the side of not doing it because
I thought you were on the side of bringing him.
No,
I thought it was me and you going at it. Maybe it was someone. Maybe it was Klotz or Gentry
I
or
was for
something.
bringing like a big time star, but I was never on the Zion train.
The crazy thing is,
it's the injuries, it's the off the court stuff. I mean, Trajan Langdon literally has been preaching about.
He came from there,
you know. And he came from there, so he would know better than anyone. But he's been about culture, hard work, discipline, being reliable, all this stuff. That is just like the antithesis of what Zion is.
You don't do that. That's a step back, in my opinion. I don't care if he averages 27 or not. That's just like you just built a great culture of guys who want to play, and he's just never healthy. I think he hasn't played. He's been healthy one season, and he's played 8 years now in the NBA. 7.
I honestly don't even remember. Honestly, like I don't remember the last time I watched Zion. Like he's probably played some this. I don't.
He played this year. I just never came across one of his games.
Yeah, I think he's a really good player. Really good player. I just don't think, man, that's tricky. You know,
what's crazy is Pistons fans. Like when I said this last year or year before, whatever it was, were like thought I was the worst person in the world, and now all of a sudden there's Pistons fans like, yep, we don't want him.
Did you see the KD to the Rockets thing is becoming more likely?
Oh, that's interesting.
The Suns came out and said Devin Booker's untouchable. So that's it. Get that out of everyone's brain.
Hey, do you guys want to hear these numbers?
He's not coming home. Devin Booker, go on.
This year, 30 games, 23, 24, 70, 22, 23, 29. His second year, 61 and 24. He's had 2 seasons where he's played 61 and 70. All the other ones have been 30 or less.
I mean, it's just it's blasphemous to
Yeah.
even think that's a.
And the contract that comes with all of that. It's such a. If you
you're
want
not,
Zion,
you have to trust that if you're paying a player that much amount of money and you're trading for a player, you have to know that he's going to be focused 100,000% on basketball, and he's not. Unfortunately, he's worried about other things. It's sad. He's talented. Honestly, in college, my favorite player to watch. Like that, just that Duke team in general. But watching Zion, like this dude's exciting.
one thing I hated about the Zion stuff was the attention that he got. Like he was the next LeBron. And I hated that draft because that draft class, it was the Zion draft. And they were like acting like he's the next LeBron James. And in my mind, I think I said it like, there's no way this guy stays healthy this long, or this guy's going to do what LeBron did. That he's extremely athletic, but and I just hated watching that draft to where it was like, even after he was drafted, like into round 2, it was just all it was Zion. It was like, all right, can we give like these other players some respect? Like I hated that draft class. That was my least favorite draft class. I think as a Pistons fan or NBA fan.
You know what I will say? This is one of my most favorite shows, to be honest. I think we had a blast today, man. Appreciate all the people tuning in. Appreciate Cory for joining, telling us his story.
Yeah,
just everything, man. His faith, just you could tell he's just a super genuine, good human being. Like, thank God that Ahmed was around him during those important years, because that's one hell of a role model, man. We're lucky we got to have him join today. Appreciate you all for tuning in. By the way, much love to you guys, man. It's been a lot of fun last couple of weeks. Let's keep it pushing. Let's keep working. Let's keep getting after it.
See you guys tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow, 8 p.m. Be there. But until then, peace.
Love you guys.
Peace.